Hi, my name is Mike Lemieux. Some of you know me as Mikey or Giddy Up Mikey, and I am the author of this book here, Dude, Where's My Jesus Fish? I was recently down in San Diego, California for a Gary Renard workshop, La Jolla to be specific, and this was the last weekend of August. And I usually try to catch Gary at least once a year. I've been doing that since 2008 because I'm kind of weird like that. And actually, I caught him this year. I caught him twice. Earlier this year, I caught him in Toronto, Canada, him and Cindy. And also during this most recent trip down to San Diego, I was a special guest on a podcast called The Course of Course, episode number 33, and hosted by Janine Redman and Stephanie Swengel. And you can actually find the Course of Course page on Facebook. You can find them on iTunes and Twitter and on Blogger as well. And what I like about the podcast is that they talk heavily about my favorite book ever, The Disappearance of the Universe, which is right here. It's falling apart on me, but got to get a new one. But I'd have to transfer all my notes and highlights and stuff, and that's a pain in the ass. So I'm holding on to this one for as long as I can. And what else did I want to say? I'm kind of got notes here, so I'm going to be going back and forth. Don't mind me. I kind of lost my train of thought. So the podcast. They also throw me a bone. They mention Jesus fish from time to time, so that's pretty cool too. And what I also like about the podcast is that they present themselves as students of the course, not necessarily as teachers of the course. And no matter what they're talking about, even if they get off course topics, they might talk about politics or current events, they usually bring the conversation back around to what is it for, which of course is for forgiveness. I recently listened to a YouTube video of a couple of people talking about A Course in Miracles, allegedly. Sorry, I don't mean to be a jerk, but I don't normally feel inclined to listen to or read something about the Course that doesn't have Gary Renard's name attached to it, because he doesn't compromise on the integrity of the Course. Anyway, I was feeling good one day, and I decided to give these two nice people an opportunity to prove me wrong about how I feel about most Course presenters. Now, many will refer to themselves as Course teachers, Course in Miracles teachers, but to me that's kind of arrogant, because unless, of course, there's someone that if I were to drive a nail through the wrist and they don't scream in pain, then they may very well be a Course in Miracles teacher. But I'll get more into that later. Anyway, I listened to this YouTube video, and it was about an hour long. And you know how many times the word forgiveness came up in this 1 hour long video? Zero times. Zero. Not once did the word forgiveness come up. I mean, you got to be kidding me. Not once. I mean, the Course teaches that forgiveness is the only function meaningful in time. The way to God is through forgiveness here. There is no other way. Salvation is my only function here. Salvation and forgiveness are the same. You who want peace can find it only by complete forgiveness. I mean, there are plenty more statements like this throughout the Course for those who care to see it. Of course, on this video I watched, there was no mention of the unconscious guilt in the mind as a result of the seeming separation from God, which the Course also refers to as our secret sins and hidden hates, and the blocks to the awareness of love's presence. There was no mention of the idea that God did not create the world. And of course, when Jesus talks about the world in A Course in Miracles, it's not just referring to planet Earth. It's referring to this whole idea of the universe of time and space, which is the ultimate separation idea, the ultimate symbol of separation. I mean, these are major themes of A Course in Miracles that are being ignored by people who are referring to themselves as Course in Miracles teachers. But there really is only one teacher of A Course in Miracles, and I'm not talking about Gary Renard or Ken Wapnick here. Although it is possible Ken Ken became one with that teacher before his transition a couple years ago, but I don't know that for sure. Of course, that one teacher I'm talking about is the Holy Spirit, which is unequivocally the voice of reason, the voice of sanity, and which will all be the same as in our experience once we learn all our forgiveness lessons. But until then, we're students. Even if someone goes out there, calls themselves a teacher, we're all students. So it takes a certain amount of willingness, willingness too, but a certain amount of humility is the word I was trying to say, to accept what the Course is really saying, because you have to be willing to accept a teaching that renounces your own individual identity. That's not good for the ego. As the Course says, forgiveness is the end of specialness. The Course also says, too, that you can defend your specialness, but never will you hear the voice for God beside it. So it takes a certain amount of humility to intellectually accept that message, and even more so to be willing to apply that into your everyday life. It's not arrogant to say that there's only one correct way to interpret the Course. What is arrogant, however, is to project your own limited beliefs onto the Course and take those limited beliefs out there to the world, present them to the world, and call it the Course. And this is what many people who refer to themselves as Course in Miracles teachers do. Marianne Williamson would be the most obvious one and the most highly recognizable one to do this, but there are many others, lesser known, that are doing this as well. I say all this, it's not really my intention to slam anybody. I apologize if it comes across that way. I know what I'm putting out here is kind of controversial, but I just want to put out a warning to any newbies to the Course in Miracles community, or even for people that have been in the community for quite some time that are feeling confused and conflicted about what different Course presenters say about the Course. But the Course is a very specific, non-compromising teaching. In fact, there's an excerpt I wanted to share from Gary's second book, Your Immortal Reality, about that. I have it bookmarked, but now I can't find it. I think I must have... here it is. I'm looking on the wrong page. Given that the Course is the only teaching that not only addresses but completely explains the issue of unconscious guilt, it shows you how vital it is to make this teaching more available to people. Right now, most of the people who teach it don't even understand it. And the ones who quote from it without teaching it certainly don't understand it. They take lines from it out of context to support what they're teaching. But what the Course is teaching is that you can undo the ego that's in your mind, have the Holy Spirit heal all of your unconscious guilt, and be free. So, regarding this guilt too, the guilt says, did I say the guilt? The Course says about the guilt, of one thing you were sure, of all the many things you perceived as bringing pain and suffering to you, your guilt was not among them. So this is how big this guilt is. And as I mentioned on this YouTube video I listened to, it wasn't even mentioned, along with not mentioning forgiveness either. Something else I wanted to share that's worth mentioning, because we're talking about different Course presenters and so-called teachers. This year, I received several unsolicited messages from people regarding cult-like activity in the Course in Miracles community, which I found rather disturbing. I won't go into details about it here, but if a so-called Course in Miracles teacher isn't empowering you to do your own forgiveness work, inspiring you to get in touch with the Holy Spirit on your own, something is a tad askew. So at this time, there's something else I wanted to share from Gary's books about that sort of behavior. I don't think it can be said enough. It's kind of sad it has to be said, but apparently it does. This is in the first chapter of Gary's second book, Your Immortal Reality. It takes many years of practice to make significant progress, but a lot of people want to skip to the end without utilizing the means, which of course is forgiveness. They want to be a master without being a student. That's why we're pleased that you present yourself as just a student, and she's talking to Gary here, but ultimately talking to all of us, who shares your experiences and passes the teachings along. If you try to be more than that, then strange things can happen. For example, there are a couple of so-called course teachers who have set themselves up as cult leaders. Sometimes it's obvious that this is what's going on, and sometimes it's more subtle. In any case, if a teacher or their assistants tries to get you to surrender any personal property to them or make large donations, something is rotten in Denmark. Ditto if they want you to live at their location. It's clear that the course is not meant to be used as an escape from society, but as a tool to forgive society. Rather than empowering you to do your own forgiveness work, which is clearly the intention of the course, they'll try to make you think that it's being in their presence and following them that leads to enlightenment. No! No. It's all about you and the Holy Spirit. It's not about some guy out there and listening to what they say as far as depending on them for your what's right for you. And there was another piece in the third book, Love Has Forgotten No One, that I wanted to share, that Gary himself said. If a teacher of the Course wants you to come and live with them, don't. That's a cult. A Course in Miracles is a self-study process, and that is clearly stated right in the preface. Quote unquote, it's not intended to become the basis for another cult. If someone is setting up a Course community, whether in North America, South America, Denmark, or any place on earth, and wants you to come and live with near other Course students, don't go. They will make you somehow dependent on the community and perhaps even subtly persuade you to donate your money, car, and even your house to them. So I wanted to put that out there because apparently this has been an issue for some people. And that's not what A Course in Miracles is all about. And it's not right. So Gary put it in his books, and I thought it was worth repeating here. And what else did I want to say in this video? Just looking through my notes. I guess, well, that might be all it. I do post daily quotes on my Dude Where's My Jesus Fish page on Facebook. You can find that facebook.com/DWMJF. The quotes are from Gary's books. And I always post them with photos I've taken myself of mountains, lakes, sunsets, oceans, and such. Even though the world is just an insignificant dream, as we practice true forgiveness, and remove more guilt from our mind, we can actually enjoy the world more, even though it is a dream, and that it's not real. So I like my photos. I enjoy taking them and putting them out there. People seem to dig them too, so that's cool. It's all about, the focus of the Course is all about healing our negative emotions, which is all symbolic of that original guilt from the seeming separation from God. We don't have to give anything up physically, but we do have to forgive our attachment to the things we enjoy in life, whatever they may be, whether it's food or drugs or sex, sunsets, whatever. Because if we're psychologically attached to them, we're afraid of losing them. And if we're afraid of losing them, obviously that fear is something that needs to be forgiven because we're making a false idol out of something. What else we got going on? Oh, I also manage Gary Renard's Facebook fan page, not to be confused with his personal page, because he has a personal page, and there's also the fan page. I manage the fan page. I post quotes on there as well, and you can find that facebook.com/Gary R. Renard. And I also post Course in Miracles quotes, not quotes from Gary's books, but specifically from the Course itself on my J-Dog page. J-Dog is my little pet name for Jesus, which I stole from Gary. He used it in Your More Reality, so I kind of hijacked that from him. And you can find that facebook.com/JDogACIM. And I also have a website, and I post some interesting stuff on there. I got links to like funny stuff on there, and that's GiddyUpMikey.com. You can also order Jesus Fish from there if you so desire, although you can find it on Amazon too. And there was something else. I also mentioned on the podcast that I was recently on, the Course of Course podcast, that A Course in Miracles is not the only way back to God. The disappearance of the universe is not the only way back to God. But I would say that the Holy Spirit's thought system of true forgiveness is indeed the only way back to God. Because we can't get in touch with our own innocence in a permanent way unless we see it consistently in everyone else and seeing the world as the dream that it is. And that's how we experience ourselves, as seeing everyone as being innocent. The Course in Miracles teaches, as you see him, as you see him, you will see yourself. So there's no getting around that. And that is the Course, the Holy Spirit's thought system of true forgiveness, which leads to our experience of what we really are as being innocent. Because this is all just one big freaking hallucination that we'll all eventually waken up from, hopefully sooner rather than later. Anyway, I think that was about it. I've rambled on enough, but hopefully you get something out of this video. All right, giddy up. I'm on a Mexican radio. So I couldn't help myself. I got that song stuck in my head now.